Alisa is creepy. Almost every room I walked into had some new, unpredictable enemy that looked like one of Sid's toys from Toy Story. While the game feels like one big tribute to the 90s survival horror classics, it does enough with its unique setting to help it stand out among the waves of PS1 inspired horror titles. You play as Alisa, an elite special agent who wakes up in a strange dollhouse-like mansion after being kidnapped on a mission. Despite its clear inspirations from the early Resident Evils, Alisa draws upon elements from RE4 with its own merchant system. Collecting the game's currency tooth wheels mainly involves killing enemies, creating this delicate balancing act between preserving resources and working towards obtaining that next powerful weapon. It's like you have to spend money to make money, but on top of that, saving is done by spending one tooth wheel every single time, giving you yet another critical choice you have to make when deciding what to spend money on. With ink ribbons, the only choice you had to make was when to use them, but in Alisa, you have to consider if that money could be better spent on something else like a new weapon or an outfit. Is it worth saving every time you make a tiny bit of progress, or instead maybe holding off for a bit and using that money to buy something that'll give you an edge in future encounters? Exploring the mansion definitely made me feel uneasy, given the sheer amount of enemy variety the game has on offer. In Alisa's first hour, you run into maybe a dozen different enemies, which makes every room you step into pretty nerve-wracking. Whenever there was some new enemy type in Resident Evil, there would be this intro cutscene to give you time to mentally prepare yourself and get some rough idea of how they'll behave. In Alisa, it's like, here's some doll-faced human centipede, some little ghosts on tricycles, and this rejected Donkey Kong 64 model. Then in the next room, we see this game's liquor equivalent. Oh yeah, now there's this creepy ghost lady that randomly appears and stalks you for most of the game now. It just doesn't stop. The game certainly has that old school 90s difficulty that stays very authentic to certain design choices from that era. Nowadays, most developers wouldn't go anywhere near this kind of stuff. There were times where I had to use every last bullet and health kit I had just to scrape past a boss. It left me seriously wondering if I could even continue through the game. At around the halfway point, I had to start taking out enemies' fists only as a way to save on ammo and stock up on tooth wheels. In fairness though, there's one safe room with a hot spring that will fully restore your health if you wait a couple of minutes, which makes farming for tooth wheels pretty easy, albeit quite long and boring. There's one puzzle in particular that really wouldn't be that much of a problem if the game had autosaves. At this point, Alisa falls into a jail cell and has to quickly pick the lock before she becomes a Jill sandwich. Thing is though, you only get about 30 seconds before you're dead, and it took me at least 4 attempts before I even figured out how it actually worked. In between each death, it would be a long walk back over there with a slow crawling segment and a few unskippable cutscenes. I get this is how old school games were, but maybe having a save room just before triggering the cutscene would have made this part a bit less frustrating. Aside from that, I really enjoyed the time I spent with this game. There's a perfect mix of tension and intrigue about what this nightmarish dollhouse will produce next that kept me wanting to push through. The game definitely encourages multiple playthroughs given the sheer number of things you can buy from the merchant. Guns, dresses, permanent upgrades, and every time you kill a boss, you get unique rewards that also have to be bought, so there's no chance you'll be able to see everything on your first go. Throw in multiple endings and now the game is basically demanding you to replay it. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap up this video right now and go do that. And with that being said, thanks for watching. Bye guys.